All right, y'all, here we are. It's been about a year since I put out my last video. I have done more work since then, and I've filmed it. I just haven't actually edited the videos and put anything out yet. So what you're about to see is the next video, and if you don't remember where I left off, I don't blame you. I left off right after I cut the channels for the binding. So in this next video that you're about to watch, you're going to see me make the binding and install the binding. Hope you enjoy.
All right, so here's where all the carnage went down. I was making this piece of binding here. I took one of these thicker strips, not one like that, one that was more like that, and I cut it to the, well actually first I sanded it. I used my planes here, set it up between some stop blocks, just so happens that those are like almost the perfect distance across. So I had it set up so it wouldn't move. Planed it mostly level. Then I took it outside to my granite sanding block and I sanded it on that so I knew that it would be dead flat. And then once I got two sides that were flat, I cut it through the bandsaw into a thinner strip here, and then I sanded the side that wasn't, or that was fresh cut. And that's how I ended up here. Next thing I gotta do is, you can see I already marked it. I'm gonna cut it along that line, and that is gonna go like so in the binding channel. It's gonna look beautiful. This is a great piece of flame maple. I'm not sure how well the camera's picking it up, but I promise you, it's great.
All right, so now I've moved outside to the bandsaw and I'm just cutting along that line that I showed you. Unfortunately, I only filmed myself doing one side of the binding. You'll see later in the video that one side is already on, but obviously it's exactly the same for both sides, so just know that everything you see me do in this video that I did twice. After I finish getting this guy cut out, I move over to my granite slab that I picked up on Facebook Marketplace. I just found someone selling a scrap piece of granite countertop so that I could have a nice flat reference surface to use for sanding things just like this. This is what I use to level my fretboard and level the surface of my neck before I glued them together. It's just really handy to have a nice flat reference surface that is not going to move with the seasons or anything like that. So here I'm just using it to clean up that piece of binding and make sure that I've got a nice straight reference edge. And once I finished up with that, I double checked and made sure that the binding channel was good and square and flat. I just sanded it by hand. If you remember in the last video when I initially cut these channels using the router, I couldn't get all the way up into the corner by the headstock because of the way it flares out. So I had to clean that part up by hand with my chisels, which was quite a process, but I didn't film it. Here I am. I'm just checking the fit of my binding, making sure that it fits with no gaps, and then I don't have to force it into place or anything weird like that.
All right, so one of the things that I read when I was researching the pros and cons of using various different types of wood is that cocobolo, which is what I'm using for my fretboard, is not as popular as rosewood for guitars. You'll see if you look up specs for guitars, very, very often it's rosewood or maple. And one of the reasons they don't like cocobolo as much is because it's a very oily wood. Now, rosewood is also oily, but my understanding is that cocobolo is even more oily. And one of the reasons that presents an issue is because wood glue is water-based. And as most of you should know, if you took basic chemistry, water and oil don't mix. So if you're using a water-based glue on an oily wood, it tends to not bond very well. Which then you've got to use hide glue or epoxy or some other form of glue that generally has a very strong odor and is not very pleasant to be around. And one of the things you can do to combat this is use alcohol and wipe down the surface that you're going to glue, because the alcohol will pull the oil out. That's what I did on this first half. I seem to have lost the footage or just have not taken it. So unfortunately I don't have that, but you can watch me do it once. Obviously it's the same for the other side. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to take some alcohol, put it on a paper towel, and just sort of go over this area and try to extract some of that oil before I glue on my other piece of binding so that I get a good bond. I don't know if that's oil or if that's just dust, but it definitely looks like something is happening. I'm not sure how long I should do this for. Like, should I go until I stop getting a dirty rag, or do I just go over it a few times and hope that's good? I'm not really sure. Actually, now that I say that, the rag is starting to come off pretty clean. Yeah, I'm probably going to call that good. But that's all the... I guess that's the oil that came off of there. Quite a bit. It's on my hands, too. So now what I'm going to do, because it's very finicky to try and clamp this on, because I have to clamp it down and I have to clamp it in. And it's pretty difficult to get that consistently and evenly all the way up and down the full length. The best way to do it is with this. This is stretchy surgical tubing. This is like what you would use on a slingshot or something. And this way I can wrap it all the way around it and get even pressure in and down down the length. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to get some wood glue, put this in a place where I can wrap it with that surgical tubing, and get it clamped on. And that'll be my second piece of binding. You can see my first one is already on here. I either didn't film it or seem to have lost the film, but it'll be exactly the same way as I do this one, so you should be okay. Cool thing about this stuff, because it goes around so many times and I have so many pressure points, I don't need like a ton of pressure in any one spot, because it just adds up by the sheer number of pressure points. There she is. Second piece of binding, all glued on. So next I'll use the plane and clean it up so that it's flush with the sides and the top of the fretboard. Then I can start radiusing the fretboard. Oh, actually, I'll probably have to do the inlays next. That's right. I have these sweet inlays. I don't think I've showed you yet. Where is it at? Yeah. Come on, focus. So I got this sweet thundercloud. Come on, there we go. That's going to be my 12th fret marker, is this sweet thundercloud. And then I'm just going to keep it simple with some angled rectangles, I suppose, for the other fret markers. Yeah, so this will go on the 12th fret, sort of in the middle. That's the plan. Those are going to have to be next. That's going to be a challenge. Woohoo.
Hey, it's me again. Just wanted to give you a quick recap and let you know what you're gonna see in the next video, which is already filmed. So hopefully I can edit it before too long, so you don't have to wait another year for the next video. In the next video, you're gonna see me clean up the binding because it's still overhanging the edges of the fretboards. So I've got to flush it up, get it all squared away. And then I'll be on to installing the inlay, which was a very tedious task. That took me quite a long time to do. I did a lot of practice runs before I did the real thing on the real fretboard, so I didn't screw it up, but ultimately I think it turned out pretty good. So stay tuned for that one.